Hello YouTube. Thank you for being here today and being on my channel. My name is Chrissy Hodges. I'm an advocate for OCD, particularly pure OCD, which is a community name for how OCD manifests with intrusive thoughts and mental rituals. I'm also the author of Pure OCD, The Invisible Side of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. I don't have a book right here to show you, or I would normally hold it up, and I don't. And I'm a certified peer support specialist here in the state of Colorado. I work with people all over the world to help support them in what they're dealing with OCD, and also to help connect them to therapists and resources. So again, thanks for being here. I am going to talk today a little bit about such a common theme. And I talk about this theme a lot. I have a few videos already on YouTube about it. It's just so important, and it's so tough, and it can manifest in so many different ways. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about sexual orientation themed OCD. Oftentimes you'll hear it as an acronym as HOCD if you're straight and you fear that you're gay. If you're gay and you fear that you're straight, sometimes people say straight OCD. And if you fear that you're transgender, then it might be TOCD, bi OCD. There's all kinds of acronyms, but they all kind of fall under the umbrella of the sexual orientation theme, which of course falls under the umbrella of OCD, because it doesn't matter what the themes are. All OCD can be treated with behavioral therapy and or medication. Today I just wanted to touch on how it can manifest and just how important it is, and also to let you know that you're not alone if you're struggling with this. So if you don't know, and you've watched a lot of my videos, so I lived with the fear of being gay and not knowing it when I was younger. So I want to explain this, and I think that's another reason why I wanted to do this video, is really emphasize what it feels like when you have this fear. So a lot of times people are afraid to talk about this particular theme because they're afraid that they're going to come across as homophobic. And they're also afraid that people will think that they really aren't straight, and that other people will think, oh, that they're just secretly in the closet. So it's really, really hard for people to talk about for those two issues in particular. For me, what kept me silent for years was I have gay friends. I never, in the time that I even lived with the HOCD, felt like there was anything wrong with being gay. And y'all, this was back in the 90s, like in the South. But talking about it felt weird. It felt scary. It felt uncomfortable for the fact that I thought that people would misunderstand. And this is the bottom line with OCD. This fear that, oh my gosh, what if the thoughts are true, and then what if other people think that they're true and they don't believe it's really OCD? It's all really intertwined. Anyway, I lived with this for 6 years, and I'm going to tell you how it happened. I was 15 years old. I may have been 14 even. It was like right in that age, or that range where I was about to turn 14. I just can't really remember the date. I was boy crazy up to that point. I had a boyfriend, and this is the kicker too. I had a boyfriend, but I wasn't really into him that much. And that I remember thinking to myself, even before the HOCD hit, I remember thinking, well, why am I not into him? Like, that's weird. Like, he was good looking and everything, but you know what I mean. When there's no chemistry, there ain't chemistry. You can't create chemistry outside a lab. Anyway, so I remember feeling that way. So it was almost like I was primed for when the thought came on. After spending the night with one of my friends, and we were talking about sex, and I already had scrupulosity, so I was like, I shouldn't be talking about this, because if I talk about this, I'm going to get punished by God, with bad thoughts and bad feelings, anxiety. And then that's when it happened, was And actually, it ended up happening a little bit later when I started to think, why can everybody do what they want and not get punished with bad thoughts, intrusive thoughts, the way that I did? And that's when the thought came in. I pictured my friend and her boyfriend having sex or something, and I was like, ugh, why am I thinking about that? I don't want to think about naked people, especially my friend naked. And that's when the thought came in, you're thinking about it because what if you're gay? And I remember the feeling, and I know that you all may understand this. It was that moment of absolute paralysis. I had the electric rod go up through my spine and bursting out of my chest, and the heat that hit my face of oh my gosh, what if this is true, and what if this is the case, and then my brain going, I know that this isn't true, but but I really don't want to be with women. I really want to be with dudes. Like, but I don't understand. If I didn't have the thought, then what does that mean? And then my body, you know, is like blowing up everywhere and all of this. And so that's when it hit for me. So back in the 90s, I mean, this was in like 1992. Good Lord, 1992. You know, back in that day, it was just such a vulnerable place. You know, I was just starting high school. The last thing I'm going to do is just bust out and start talking to people about this, especially in that time in the South when that conversation was not open for discussion. No matter what you believed, it just wasn't, and probably still in some places isn't, you know, just an acceptable topic or whatever. So I stayed silent, and I stayed silent at that point for 6 years. And many of you are silent about this. I get lots of emails. I meet with people all the time that say, you know, you're the only person I've told, or I have one or two people in the world because I'm just so scared. And so I just wanted to dive in a little bit about what it's like to have the fear of not knowing what your sexual orientation is. I put that in quotes, but just hear me out. So OCD loves to latch on to what do you like, or what do you prefer, what are you attracted to. OCD loves this. It's such like it's like an OCD playground of all opportunities. With you know, any corner that you turn, any sandbox that you go in, you're questioning everything. So it's because it's such, especially in these days when we're talking a lot about, you know, freedom of sexual choice and freedom to do things without judgment. You know, there's, and I'm just gonna say it because a lot of people get triggered by this. When people say sexuality is on a spectrum, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with that. I just want to let you know that I know how triggering that is. I know for you, when you hear that, it's scary. Now, if you didn't have this theme, you would probably hear that and be like, oh, that's interesting, and move along with your day, right? But when you have the theme, it's very much, I need to know what the spectrum is, and I need to know where I'm at. And I need a formula to do it. And my goal is to set out and find that formula that, by the way, does not exist. And so that's what's so scary. Everywhere we're turning these days, there is all kinds of, you know, there's articles out, you know, in the media everywhere, which is phenomenal for the LGBTQ, you know, cause, to be able to have the freedom to express who you are. But for those of us who have HOCD, trans OCD, bi OCD, or even straight OCD, it can be tormenting. You look at everybody else and you think everybody's got it figured out, or everybody's carefree, and why can't I be too? Where it wouldn't matter. Well, because this is what OCD wants you to think, that you have to know or else. So then the problem comes, okay, well, I found out online usually, because we all know there's not a lot of therapists out there that will diagnose this correctly. Then you find out online and you think, oh, okay, so how do I treat this? How do I get better? How do I stop the thoughts? You know, how do I find out for real? Am I straight? Am I gay? Am I bi? Am I trans? You know, am I asexual? You know, what am I? Well, there is no answer. And I've said this before, and I hate the answer. There is no answer. And you probably hate me right now. And you probably think, I hate this channel, and she can go fuck off. But it was hard for me to understand at first, too. You think, and I want to get into this too in a minute, of just how, you know, the shame piece comes from the fact that you think that you should just know, because we're smart, logical people that should know what we're attracted to, right? But OCD digs into us and makes us think that we have to know right now. That's where the compulsions come in. I need to know this. I need to prove this. And every time you do a compulsion, you're just like pumping up the fear bigger and bigger over here. Why? Because logic is our natural language. We're talking to our brain saying, but you know, if you're a dude, you're like, I just don't want other dudes. I want chicks, you know? And I can't stop thinking about this. And there must be some truth if I'm stopping to think about it. That's logic talking, and that's not this part of the brain. It doesn't understand logic, so every time we do compulsions to try to come up with a solution, we're digging ourselves deeper. And that's why I say earlier, there just is no answer. You're searching after something that there is no answer to. Now, if you think to yourself, there's got to be an answer. Like, I have to know whether I'm gay, straight, bi, trans, or asexual. I have to know. I have to know the answer, right? Well, let's think about it this way. If someone has the fear of AIDS or the fear of cancer or the fear of MS or any other health issue, you would think to yourself, that person, just go get a test. If they have OCD, right? Just go get a test and you'll know. Wrong. Oh, for God's sake. And pregnancy. For the love of all that's holy. Any woman out there that is worried that they're pregnant that has OCD, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There is not enough damn pregnancy tests in the world to convince you that you are not pregnant when you when you have that theme. So you could, and same with other health things, you could go and take every possible test over and over and over, and your brain's going to come up with an excuse. Well, that test was wrong. Well, they just took the blood wrong. They got the blood samples mixed up. Maybe it came back negative. I mean, so here I use that comparison because I want you to see there's no black and white. There is no like, I need to be able to take some tests and know. So the point of living with this successfully is to just make the need to know irrelevant. Again, when I went into therapy, I didn't understand this. I just thought that's not possible. I cannot live the rest of my life without knowing whether I want a penis or vagina. Like, it has to be, like, it can't not be that simple. But it also took me a long time, and in doing therapy, to really realize this is a behavioral issue. And again, like I was saying earlier, if we're using logic, it's not doing anything because we don't know how to speak behavior with our brain, and that's what exposure response prevention therapy teaches us. I will tell you, by the time I got done with therapy, like my therapist, Phillipson, he could have never told me this at the beginning to where I would believe him. But by the time I got done with therapy, to me it was less about whether I needed to know whether I was gay, straight, bi, trans, or asexual. It was less about that and more about, like, I want to live my life without having it be ruled by compulsions. And just so you know, it doesn't matter what the themes are under that umbrella. ERP is still the same for any of them, not in any other themes, whether that's the fear of being a pedophile or, the fear of being attracted to a family member, the fear of some, religious stuff, like I've sold my soul, all this, none of it matters. There's no theme that's different to treat. There's no theme that can't be treated with ERP. False memories, all that, existential, all of those themes. Everybody, that's a big question. It's just like, I've heard this theme is harder to treat. No, because they're just themes. Now, I am going to do a video at some point about the importance of understanding the emotional impact of themes. So when I say the themes don't matter, I want you to know that I'm saying that in a way of your emotions around it matter. The trauma around it matters. Your experience matters. In therapy, in behavioral therapy, the themes don't matter because we want to make them irrelevant. We want to disconnect that emotion from it so the emotions don't drive and fuel the cycle. Now, I'm going to tell you this before I get into my last topic. The emotions can really keep us stuck. So when we have fears about sexual orientation, they're often accompanied by very big, heavy emotions, right? So for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, there's sadness. There's shame. I'll get to that in just a minute. There's embarrassment, same thing. There's guilt. So it's like if I'm having like fears that I might be bisexual or if I might be gay, like the guilt is, well, what if I am, and how does that impact my husband, this man that's pledged his life to me? And what if I leave him for a woman, and what if it's been a lie the whole time? All of those things. So these heavy, heavy emotions accompany the intrusive thoughts, and they yank you around on a chain, right? So the sadness for me especially, it is this gloom and doom. It is not like watching Titanic or The Notebook sadness. It is not like even PMS sadness, which I have right now. I'm surprised I haven't cried yet. Where it feels like irrational sadness and exacerbated sadness. It is this all encompassing, oh my gosh, life is over sadness. And this is what OCD wants. It wants to use these emotions to yank you into the cycle because they are fueled the same way things like the groinal are fueled. So the groinal is when you have, it doesn't matter. You can get it by images, you can get it by words, you can get it by seeing something, an experience, just thinking about sex, whatever. The groinal happens, which is you have movement in areas that are associated with arousal. It doesn't matter if it's as a woman in your vag, a man in the crotch and the back end. Women sometimes get them in their breasts. Men sometimes get them in their mouths when they're thinking about things like bananas. Anyway, I'm not laughing at you, just the banana. Anyway, I want you to think about that, how the physical reaction can pull you in the same way an emotion can pull you in. It's all part of your OCD pattern. I want to tell you something really quick before I move over to my last topic. A good comparison is this. We think about the groinal as being the all-knowing. Like if my crotch just moved when I saw some chick's boobs, I must be gay. You know, a dude's going to be like, if my back end just like throbbed when I see a guy with his shirt off, that has to mean I'm gay, right? Okay, well, let's compare that to someone who fears that they have a brain tumor. You know, all of a sudden when they read all the symptoms of a brain tumor, you got it. They start having all of them. Why is my head hurting? Now my head's hurting even worse. And they may even wake up every morning with I feel disoriented. I feel like I'm forgetting things. So the brain starts manifesting and checking and rechecking, which is a compulsion, which is the same thing that happens with the groinal. Lastly, I want to talk about this, and I think this is so important. I hope I've addressed this before, and if not, I'm addressing it now, but also it's really important to emphasize this. People often say things like, I don't understand why I feel like I don't deserve a good life, I'm not worthy of a good life, and it's really associated sometimes with these sexual, violent, intrusive thoughts. And sexual orientation OCD is just the same. And a lot of that, again, it's different shame, because when you have intrusive thoughts about harm or pedophilia, at the end of the day, I mean, come on. Like, that shit is wrong, it's illegal, it's harmful. But being gay, being bi, being trans, being straight, being asexual, those are not harmful. They're not illegal, they're not wrong, they're not bad. So the shame is very different. But I want to talk about what the shame is with the sexual orientation piece. It's the, I must be stupid to not be able to figure it out, which then affects our self-esteem, which then affects our ability to think that you can't even problem solve like the simplest things that come natural to other people. Like, other people don't walk down the road worrying about whether they're gay or straight or bi or trans or asexual. They don't. They just know, or they experiment or whatever. And here we are over here spending months and years and all of our energy trying to prove something, and it makes you just, A, it makes you feel nuts. B, it makes you manifest things that you would never even think in your life. And C, it just makes you feel stupid and scared and ashamed and embarrassed. Like, how do you talk to people about, I worry all day, every day about my sexual orientation? How do you do that without having them have that, illogical or their logical reaction that's going to trigger the shit out of us? Well, are you gay? Are you straight? Are you bi? They're going to say that. And then that's going to tailspin us into, oh my God, they don't believe that this is this. And then why would they say that? And maybe I am, and who doesn't know this? So I just wanted to mention that because it's so important for us to understand the connection between that intrusive thought, between the ability to not know, and how that impacts other areas of our life, how it impacts our self-love, our self-acceptance, our ability to see us as worthy and appropriate partners to people, and a lot of times when people have OCD, sexual orientation OCD, people say that it ebbs and flows, and so it'll be really bad, and then maybe you get like a break or whatever, and then it feels like, oh my gosh, I'm me again, and I know exactly what I want, and this feels good, and this is awesome, and sex is fun, and then you might experience this, but I don't deserve this, because I just spent X amount of years worrying about this, and am I being unfair and untrue and not honest with the person that I'm with. And so it all goes together. So I guess today I wanted to tell you, first of all, if you're experiencing any of these, you're not alone. Oh my gosh, you're not alone. This is one of the most common themes all over the world. Same symptoms, same everything. And by the way, don't be comparing yourself to other stuff. So don't go down and, a checklist of if I feel this way, if I feel this, oh my God, I don't feel this way, I must not have it. Okay, that's what OCD wants you to do. It's never going to give you 100%. I still don't think I have OCD half the time. 99% of the time. And usually that 1% is when Sean's like, yeah, you have it. And this is OCD. So stop asking me for reassurance. Anyways, so I just wanted to let you know you're not alone with that. I also want to let you know that there's treatment available, exposure response prevention therapy, medication can help, acceptance commitment therapy with a therapist who understands OCD, with a therapist who understands and specializes in OCD. I said that twice. And then the shame, the guilt, the trauma of living with this, it's real. It's real. And I see you, I hear you, and I feel you. I have been there. I continue to be there at times. But I will say that getting exposure response prevention therapy for HSD was life-changing. So anyway, that's my message for today. I'm glad to be here again. I know I've had a bit of a break. The COVID threw me for a loop. I'm starting a new business, which I'll let you know a little bit more the next video that I do. And hopefully it'll be able to benefit many of you in getting at least some support and peer support. So visit me at chrissyhodges.com to find out more about who I am and my services. You can follow me at Facebook on Treatment for OCD, and then on Instagram at PureOChrissy. Hope you have a great day. Bye.